Sciences, Humanities and Arts, heads of institutes, heads of departments, invited guests, faculty members, participants of the event, and students. Good morning all and welcome to the first plenary session of MANOPRABHA International Conference 2022 on the theme Mental Health and Well-Being, Exploring New Paradigms, organized by Sri Vaishnav Institute of Social Sciences, Humanities and Arts, Sri Vaishnav Vidyapeeth Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. Today's event is the result of a lot of hard work by the faculty members, students of the university, the guidance of our heads. We look forward to a session filled with high energy, excitement, and knowledge sharing today. It's now my honor to share short introductions of our esteemed resource persons of the plenary session. Dr. Anubhuti Dubey is Professor of Psychology and presently Head of Deen Dayal Upadhyay, Gorakhpur University, Gorakhpur UP, and she's teaching here for the past 23 years. Apart from publishing more than 50 research papers in the journals of international and national repute and 45 chapters in different edited volumes, she has written books with titles Psychological Perspectives on Chronic Illness in 2012, as well as Swasthya Manovigyan in 2022. She has also been the co-editor of a series of 6 volumes on mental health, psychological perspectives in 2015, 2017, and 2021. She is also co-editor of books entitled Psyche of Asian Society in 2019 and Cognizing Asian Societies Through Psychological Underpinnings in 2022. She has carried out an ICSSR project on psychological dynamics of health and illness in women of Eastern Uttar Pradesh. 12 students have been awarded PhD degree under her supervision. She has also supervised more than 150 PG dissertation projects. She's also a master trainer and supportive supervisor for training HIV and AIDS counselors under GFATM 7 program. Her research area of specialization includes health psychology, positive psychology, qualitative research methods, and psychological counseling. Presently, she is the editor of international journal Mind and Society. She is also working as consultant for World Wildlife Federation in a very unique project related to the assessment of psychological stress and designing counseling sessions for Forest Department field staff at Valmiki Tiger Reserve, Bihar. She is also consultant for psychological and psychosocial assessment of juvenile offenders of Gorakhpur district under the Juvenile Justice Board. Our second resource person, Professor Dr. Urminanda Viswas, is an applied social psychologist with a focus on health, gender, and workplace behavior. She has over 25 years of postgraduate teaching and research experience. Before joining Ahmedabad University, she worked as a professor and head of Department of Psychology in Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Vadodara. She has undertaken multiple research projects around the health issues among adolescent girls, reproductive health, female feticide, gender equality as an attractive value at workplace, and workplace challenges of Indian women. Her ongoing project, Understanding the Vulnerabilities of Indian Female Migrants During COVID-19 Pandemic, Rethinking Policies for Better Integration of Immigrant Women's Work Lives, seeks to uncover aspirations of young educated Indian women. Professor Biswas consistently explores the social psychology of health in the social rubric and context of India. She has spent a significant amount of time studying the impact of holistic well-being practices in people living with HIV/AIDS. Her clinical research led to a professional certificate course on mental health at Roehampton University, where she trained mental health professionals in the community. Her most recent research to understand value-integrated and sustainable elder care models across different social and economic contexts has further pushed her to work in the field of geriatric care and gerontology. Professor Biswas is an editor of national and international journals of psychology such as Psychological Studies, Indian Journal of Health Studies, and is a reviewer for several international journals as well. Additionally, as a trained IO psychologist, she actively consults with organizations as an external expert for exit interviews and executive interviews. Our chairperson of the plenary session, Dr. Santosh Thar, is Rector and Dean, Faculty of Doctoral Studies and Research at Sri Vaishnav Vidyapith Vishwavidyalaya, Indore. She has been engaged in teaching, research, corporate training, and consultancy for the last 42 years. She has widely published her work and has more than 390 publications to her credit. Her earlier assignments have been Professor, Sri Vaishnav Institute of Management, Indore, Professor, Amity Business School, Amity University, Greater Noida Campus, Professor, Institute of Management and Dean Research at J.K. Lakshmipat University, Jaipur, Senior Professor OBHR at Jaipuria Institute of Management, Jaipur, Professor and Chairperson of OBHR Area, Institute of Management, Nirma University, Ahmedabad, and guest faculty at IIM Kolkata and MICA, Ahmedabad. Many research scholars have been awarded PhD degree under her supervision. She has designed and conducted management development programs for the executives of several business houses such as Grasim Industries, JK Tyre, Bridgestone, Hindustan Motors, ONGC, and GAIL, to name a few. She has been on the panel of reviewers of Oxford University Press and Tata McGraw-Hill. She was managing editor of Prestige Journal of Management and Research and Prestige Research Abstracts. She has been chairperson of Indian Society for Training and Development, Indore and Jaipur chapters, and was on the editorial board of Indian Journal of Training and Development. She has presented papers in several national and international conferences, seminars, and had the opportunity to visit Kathmandu, Nepal, Malé, Maldives, Bangkok, Thailand, Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, Shenzhen, Hong Kong, China, Seoul, South Korea, Dubai, UAE, Tumu, Myanmar, Poland, and the United States in connection with various professional and academic assignments. I now invite our first speaker, our resource person, Dr. Anubhuti Dubey, to address the online gathering.
Thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I would like to say thanks and very good morning to all of you. And it is an opportunity and for me to share my views on with this August gathering. And I am focusing on some of the newer approaches in health psychology and mental health. Although the topic of the seminar is focusing on well-being, but well-being is a very essential part about when we talk about the health and the health, your physical health as well as the mental health. So I am going to talk about these things in the next 20-25 minutes, the time that is allotted to me. I would like to share my PPT. So allow me to share my presentation.
Ma'am, it is visible.
It is visible. Okay.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
ma'am.
So yeah. So I'm going to talk about some of the new paradigms that we are now started using in the area of health psychology and mental health, especially. Now my presentation, there would be the overview of my presentation is I'm going to talk about some methodological changes and challenges, focusing on the chronic illnesses, diversity and inclusiveness. There is a shifting conception of health, some biological issues, as well as how this health psychology knowledge can be applied or translated into for the well-being and the community benefit. and some chronic psychopathology that is comorbid with health problems and chronic diseases. I would also focus on the social context, social justice, and some new mental health paradigms. So this is just an overview of my presentation. When we talk about health psychology, as we know that the area of health psychology includes the chronic illnesses, especially the acute phase as well as the chronic phase, as well as the palliative care and management of illnesses, focusing on the quality of life as well. But as the health psychology has emerged in late 80s, the primary focus was on quantitative methodologies to understand uh, what a patient is going through when he or she is diagnosed with a chronic illness. As we know, the prevalence of certain kind of chronic illnesses, especially in India, is very high. Say every third person, fifth person in the world is a diabetic person in the world is an Indian. So the prevalence of chronic illnesses, the heart diseases, the diabetes, asthma, arthritis, it's very high. So the methodological challenge and changes that are emerging in that apart from you only using the quantitative methods, we have to extend our knowledge and extend the methodology to the qualitative researches, because it is giving a methodological flexibility. There are certain challenges when we do the qualitative research, when we choose the qualitative researches. So I'm going to focus on this. Historically, there are certain subfields in psychology, such as community psychology.
ठीक है ना?
Community psychology.
मैं अभी इधर से लेफ्ट कर रहा हूँ, मैडम वाली आईडी से हूँ मैं, पर मुझे बुलाना मत अभी कहीं भी उसके लिए.
Dr. Sharma, please.
अभी मैं जरा धर मैडम का
Dr. Sharma, please put your mic on off.
इधर चल रहा है मोबाइल पे, मैडम वाले आईडी से ज्वाइन कर रहा है.
Please put your mic off. करें, म्यूट पे करें, शर्मा जी.
So historically, there are many subfields of psychology, such as community psychology, psychology of women, sexuality, indigenous and cultural psychology. These are the fields where the qualitative research methods are mostly used. But in the past decades, there has been an increase in the using the qualitative research methods and qualitative research and research methods within the field of health psychology as well. Now the question is, why this trend? Because this is the you can say that this is the result of various kind of developments within the field of psychology and within the field of social sciences. One thing is that post-structuralism, social constructionalism, and an increased emphasis on language and discourse. This has led to we have found the significant impact of this paradigm shift. Second is that psychology students have received training in the relevant qualitative approaches. In many of the universities, we train our students not only in the quantitative methods, but in the qualitative approaches as well. So now we have a good number of students in the field of psychology who are trained in qualitative approaches. The other thing is, many of the health psychology and mental health issues are well conducive to the rich, thorough, in-depth inquiries that qualitative research methodologies can provide. So there are, for example, in one of my researches, I have simply asked people how they conceptualize health. So no of the quantitative method can say that you can use a scale or experimental design to understand how people conceptualize health of different strata of people, different segments of people. So here we need some in-depth inquiry that how people uses certain kind of concepts are their belief systems we can identify through certain kind of research, qualitative research methodologies. Then again, there is a methodological flexibility while using the qualitative research. We can gain nuanced knowledge through qualitative research designs. The qualitative research designs have a flexibility to mix the designs. We can there may be a mixing of the designs, as well as there are multiple approaches to collect data. So this flexibility employ a number of this flexibility leads the researcher to do many kind of things in a single project. A number of analytical technique, including in-depth multi-modal discourse analysis, thematic analysis, to answer a range of research questions. So this flexibility is there. The findings across different data sets and analysis demonstrate complexities that would not be have been generated using traditional methods are one approach to the data collection. That is why I emphasize on the qualitative methods. The health psychology researchers, especially researchers, would benefit from this greater methodological flexibility in order to understand and evaluate a range of research findings and also undertake innovative researches. This would advance the field to produce effective and reliable knowledge about people's well-being, and community-based data can also be generated where the cultural factors are important. So we can this methodology, the qualitative research methods give this methodological flexibility. However, there are challenges for doing such kind of research. Qualitative research is frequently seen as a part of the soft domain of science because in the psychology, the quantitative methods are perceived as more robust and more hard, rigorous methods. However, the qualitative methods are seen as a soft domain of science. As a result, qualitative approaches tend to be viewed as unscientific. Many a times it is viewed as unscientific, exploratory, and subjective. But this is not the case. When you delve into the qualitative research methods, you will find it is very scientific. It is very inclusive, and exhaustive data can be obtained, and it is there are methods within the qualitative research designs that are very objective as well. The knowledge derived from qualitative approaches have been viewed with same skepticism and with questions around its validity and utility. But this is not the case. There are very valid methodologies within qualitative research designs. Convincing that there is another challenge with the researchers and the scholars is that they have to understand that these techniques are very important, and they are as a credible mode of study and knowledge generation. So this is a major challenge within the for the researchers and scholars. Then again, there is a challenge that researchers often adopt the dominant biomedical paradigms, especially in health and mental health, with the goal of demonstrating the importance of psychological and social factors within health and illness worlds. In general, quantitative approaches continue to dominate the professional literature as well as undergraduate and postgraduate courses in psychology. However, the modern psychology researches is characterized by quantitative methodologies, replication, the investigation of isolated and controlled factors, and an emphasis on objectivity. So this is again a challenge when if you want to do the qualitative research, you have to understand, you have to make a dent on this knowledge, that is the quantitative approach. Many quantitative researchers are skeptical of qualitative methodologies because they believe that qualitative researchers cannot validate their truth claims and that qualitative research lacks rigor. So this is one of the these are the challenges for researchers. Access to qualitative research is another challenge for health psychology people, researchers. There is a wide range of qualitative techniques which derive from a variety of philosophical and theoretical orientations, such as post-positivist, critical, interpretative, and post-structuralist. Qualitative researchers have been described as a distinct field, research has been described as a distinct field of study that goes across topic matters and discipline borders. So, since the borders of the research are very permeable, again, it is a challenge. Many terms, meanings, interpretations, concepts, and assumptions are exclusive to qualitative research, making it difficult for people new to the discipline to gain access. So this is a challenge that many of the, for example, triangulation, memo writing, these are the many of these kind of concepts and assumptions are exclusive to the qualitative research. So if you want to do a qualitative to adopt a qualitative research method, then you have to understand these things. That is why in the beginning I have said that now the qualitative many of the psychology students are getting training in the area of qualitative psychology, qualitative research methods. So the trained people in qualitative qualitative researchers is the number of trained people is widening. Certainly, uncertainty also exists as new techniques and conceptual frameworks arises. So these are some of the challenges. But if there are challenges, then there are methods to overcome these challenges. While quantitative researchers draw on notions of validity and reliability to evaluate research, qualitative researchers frequently imply notions of credibility and trustworthiness of research claims. So, to overcome the challenge of validity and reliability, there are methods of credibility and trustworthiness. Quality criteria exist in qualitative health psychology researches and continue to develop this field. Qualitative research have been cited in clinical psychology as useful for bridging the gap between research and clinical practice and for generating culturally relevant strategies and culturally relevant therapeutic interventions as well. Theories implying the importance of affect, feeling, and emotions in understanding health, illness, and the body can be investigated using qualitative research methods, including in investigating pain experiences, doctor-patient interactions, adherence to medication, and lifestyle advices, and everyday activities and behaviors relevant to maintaining health and preventing illnesses and enhancing the well-being. There are significant methods to overcome these kind of methodological challenges. Now, moving on to the qualitative research for chronic illnesses, chronic diseases. Researchers in the area of health psychology regularly collaborate with individuals in various health-related disciplines, often embracing the prevailing biological paradigms with the objective of proving the importance of psychological and social aspects within health and illness world. So again, this is a major challenge for health and mental health professionals, that they have to convince the people that only the biological paradigm is not important, but the social and psychological aspects are very important for maintaining good health, as well as prevention, as well as for the treatment of the those affected with any kind of physical or mental illnesses. Qualitative techniques allow for the exploration of a wide range of health and illness related problems that are fundamental to health psychology and contribute in four main interrelated aspects. Basically, when we use this kind of research techniques, we can focus on these four main interrelated aspects. One is by felicitating understanding of people's meaning and experiences of health and illness. That is one of the very important thing in my own researches. As I told earlier, I found that how people experience and how they conceptualize their health as well as their illness. It suggests that it leads to the adherence to treatment, it leads to the quality of life, it leads to the coping strategies. So this understanding is very important, and many times we can gain this understanding by using the qualitative research techniques. by exposing complexities and contradictions in health and illness. Again, say India is a very diverse country, so there are the conceptualization of health, the belief systems, they are very diverse, and so by using the qualitative methods, it exposes the complexities and contradictions that exist in the area of in the minds of people regarding health and illness. Then by investigating and recognizing social processes surrounding health and illness, and also by felicitating changes within health related context. So health qualitative research for chronic diseases, we can use the qualitative methods. It may be the narratives, it may be the interpretative phenomenological analysis, it may be the grounded theory, or it may be any of the approach as which suits you to the kind of research questions you are trying to answer. That is important for to go for a qualitative research for chronic diseases. There are some examples. People have used qualitative research methods for chronic diseases. One of the study, Todorova have used the interpretative phenomenological analysis to understand that he was studying the meanings, experiences, and subjectivity areas. Ironically, the primary domains then psychology for decades, but especially focus on the chronic diseases. In my own PhD work, I have asked people about. I have did research on cancer patients, and I have asked them to, although they are going through a tough phase of their life, but is there any benefit finding in during the process of through the diagnosis to the treatment and to the maintaining a good health? Many of the people said that yes, there are benefits. Now the family, as a family, we are very close, and there are many things people have they have talked about. So that I did the content analysis of the responses of in-depth interviews, and very diverse kind of things which I found in my own research. So nowadays, one of my student is using not exactly the chronic disease, but she is doing a research on those who are blind, and their experiences as a blind person, how their life journey, and especially focusing on the lockdown and COVID period. So she is doing the interpretative phenomenological analysis, IPA, to understand their lived experiences. So there are many areas which can be explored through qualitative research methods. Then as a researcher, it is also we as a researcher have to think about, when we study health and mental health especially, to understand the diversity and inclusiveness. Researchers are getting more sophisticated and judicious when they employ the qualitative research, relying on the components of a methodology, multiple techniques, and a combination of methodologies. The data sources used in qualitative research are somewhat diverse. For example, qualitative researchers have collected data through images, artifacts, memes, written text, visual text. There are multiple sources of data apart from the in-depth interview. This variability, given this variability, scholars and researchers must use a methodological approach that is relevant and appropriate for the research issue at hand, rather than being led by the method itself. Qualitative researchers must also create and extend creative methodologies for the examination of psychological concerns in health and sickness to answer their unique research questions. So as a researcher, we have to open for the diversity and for the inclusiveness. People of diverse age, gender, sexual orientation, ethnic groups must be included in study and research individually, because distinct groups of people have different health concerns. For example, marginalized population, there are two main ways in which population have been marginalized. They have not been included in samples. Generally, when we study for the convenience or for doing the research in a hurry, sometimes they are not included in the sample, and if they have been included in the sample but data have not been analyzed separately for each group. So as a researcher, we have to be cautious about this. Some researchers establish inclusion and exclusion criteria that deliberately exclude certain groups based on age, gender, sexual orientation, or ethnicity. The rationale for this method is to have more control over the study outcomes. Generally, we use the inclusion and exclusion criteria with the rationale that by doing this inclusion and exclusion, we have a more control on the studies outcomes, that means the cause-effect relationship, etc. But as a researcher, what new things we are exploring, or we are establishing and making psychology more community oriented. So the researcher have to include these groups based on different kinds of include the diverse population. Researchers are concerned that integrating both males and females as well as people from different ethnic groups or age groups will bring unnecessarily variability or noise to the problem being studied. But what Kramers refers to as the fear of heterogeneity. Because all populations are varied, we must include them in our first research and then focus on the origin of the heterogeneity in subsequent researches. That would be one of the method that can be used. So risk of acknowledging diversity issues, if we study differences between groups can lead to negative generalization about groups and mask the heterogeneity that exists within groups. For any one difference between groups, multiple explanations can be proposed. Some explanations will stigmatize the group, some will not. So we have to be very cautious about this. Some explanations will be based on biology, some will be based on psychology, and still other will be based on the interaction between the two. So interventions that target people with a particular risk factor, for example, women who have never been pregnant, will be more effective than interventions that target a particular population, for example, lesbian, because not all members of that population will have the risk factors. So membership in a population is not only a proxy indicator for a risk factor, but it is not as precise an indicator as the actual circumstances. These are some of the risks of acknowledging the diversity, but at the same time, there are benefits of acknowledging the diversity issues. The potential reward for studying different groups, group differences can easily outweigh the risk, particularly if the researchers are sensitive to the groups they are studying. One reason to study groups separately is to gain detailed knowledge about those groups. Knowledge about health and health behaviors of a variety of different groups can help to dispel generalization about these groups by clarifying societal causes for certain health problems. For example, the notion that heterosexual abuse alcohol more than heterosexual could lead to a negative generalization about heterosexuals. If data are collected on a large group of people, combined across various groups and then analyzed without looking at groups separately, the result would not be valid for anybody. The most important reason to study diverse population is to create interventions that are expressly tailored to a particular group. So these are some of the benefits of acknowledging diversity in a research. So now moving on to the next part of my presentation, there is a whole shift in the conception of health. The biomedical paradigm, as all we know, the entire allopathic medicine is focusing on the biomedical paradigm. Now the health is not only a biological thing, but our biological or biochemical thing, but we know that the main many of the health issues are related to the social and contextual and psychological factors. So there is a shift from the biological paradigm to biopsychosocial, from where the health psychology in itself has emerged. So this focus of the shifting conception of health is very important to understand. Then being a researcher in the area of health and mental health, the social context of the is very important, especially the social and political determinants of behavior are generally overlooked in the researches. As a researcher, we have to understand the social context as well as the social, not only the social context, but the political determinants of behavior should also be understood. Those socio-cultural situatedness that should be incorporated. However, there are challenges in incorporating these socio-cultural factors, but these are the factors which are actually creating the health-related beliefs in the individual, and they mediate the treatment plan as well as the prevalence as well as the maintaining a good health. Now, generally in psychology researches, we do not focus on the social justice paradigm. Many people define social justice as a degree to which resources, opportunities, advantages, and liabilities are distributed equally across a society. These allocations easily incorporate access to healthcare commodities and services, as well as the distribution of desirable and unpleasant health outcomes among diverse socioeconomic groups in health and medical contexts. Basically, in psychology researches, this social justice paradigm is generally overlooked in the researches. In one of my own research, I have used the accessibility and availability of different kind of health services for the poor people as perceived by them, and there emerged this that sometimes there are resources, there are opportunities, but people are perceiving that those resources and those health related things are not accessible to them. They are available, but they are not accessible to them because of their they are on the lower strata of the society. So this perception is also important to understand, and it is a very important health related inequalities. They are describing the greater health related inequalities, and social justice, we have to understand the social justice is an essential for psychosocial determinants of health. We have to understand this. What has health psychology contributed? Health psychology in relation to social justice aims, as per the British Psychological Society says, to study scientifically and the psychological processes of health, illness, and healthcare, to apply psychology to the promotion and maintenance of health, the analysis and improvement of healthcare system and health policy formation, the prevention of illness and disability, and enhancement of outcomes of those who are ill or disabled, and to develop professional skills in research, consultancy, teaching, and training. How can the now the question is how, as a psychologist, what we contribute to achieve all these? We can apply psychology to health promotion and disability reduction. It has potential to promote social well-being, improved health services, population health measures. Generally in psychological researches, big epidemiological researches are very few. Media marketing can be done. Persuasive media, mass media marketing, we can contribute in that area also. Without a profound understanding and awareness of potential political context and repercussions, the application of psychology will not improve the social justice. Assessment of health and healthcare outcomes, as a psychologist we can dent there. It is important to take measures that are not obscure, but they are advantageous for the population. So we, as a psychologist, we can focus on enhancing the social justice. Now, moving on to the next part of my presentation, there are many of the chronic illnesses. Over a period of time, there are comorbid psychopathological issues emerges. For example, a person with chronic with cancer may develop depression as well. So we have to understand the chronic psychopathology that is comorbid with the health problems and diseases. Generally, in health psychology, either we do the pure health psychology researches, or we are doing the clinical psychology or mental health researches. But in terms of if we see the data, we can found that the chronic illness, many of the chronic physical diseases worldwide, that means they have significant number percentage of people have the comorbid depression, anxiety, worry, and other COP. Even some patients develop OCD as well. So this is one of the area where the researchers can also be taken to understand to see the well-being of the people. We can do the researches to see the comorbid mental health conditions as well. Now, in the next 2-3 slides, I'll try to focus on the new mental health paradigm. The word mental sickness connotes that a person is ill, that their beliefs are flawed, and that their worldview is incorrect. What if there is a paradigm shift in which we no longer see mental illness as a disease or pathological state, but rather as a common occurrence that causes discomfort, anguish, or mental pleasure? Lucy Johnstone, consultant clinical psychologist and joint lead author with Professor Mary Boyle of a Power Threat Meaning Framework, said that when the world's most senior psychiatrists are admitting that the diagnostic manuals are an absolute scientific nightmare, there is a crisis in our mental health system and an urgent need for transformation. Some alternatives are already existing, such as psychological formulations, which is a personal story that helps make sense of distress in the light of person's relationship and life events. The Power Threat Meaning framework, funded by the Division of Clinical Psychology of British Psychological Association, is an attempt to reconceptualize our models of distress from scratch. Its aim is to offer a new non-medical perspective on why people sometimes struggle with a whole range of overwhelming emotions and experiences, such as confusion, fear, despair, hopelessness, mood swings, hearing voices, self-harming, panic, eating difficulties, and so on.
Sorry, Madam, for the interruption. Dr. Dubey, can you please conclude, because we are running short of time? If you can.
I'm just concluding this.
Okay.
So this new medical health paradigm is saying that rather than focusing on mental health, we have to focus on the positive side of the things. That, for example, there is a flagship program improving access to psychological therapies in England, has inspired a similar initiative in Sweden. And by doing this good mental health program, they have lowered the suicide rate in England. This new mental health paradigm, for example, in many of the poor countries, like in African countries where they have the poor resources, they have used a program that is called, for example, this friendship bench of program, that offers a prime example of what community-based care can look like. Rather than expecting people from a mentally unwell to seek out a psychiatrist office, in Zimbabwe, there is a non-profit organization that recruits grandmothers, middle-aged women, and older women who help out in their communities to learn through about depression and anxiety, to recognize them, and to treat those disorders using problem-solving therapies. Means these grandmothers people share their stories, and these grandmothers give solutions to the problems. Each grandmother recognizable in their uniform, and then this friendship bench was created in 2006, and more than 1,600 grandmothers have been trained, and they have served more than 1.5 lakh people with their initiatives. And these friendship bench programs are there in Zimbabwe, in Uganda, and in many of the third world countries, the poor countries. And this is a whole new mental health paradigm. So, and this is accepted, as I told, that it is accepted by England and Sweden. So we can also use these kind of paradigms to understand health and mental health and well-being. So thank you so much for your kind attention and patience listening. And I'm really sorry that I have exceeded my time limit. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am. It was a pleasure when you shared your research related tips, and especially the grandmother's concept is very, very beautiful. I hope we implement it in our city as well. For the audience, I have a request. The question and answer session will be held at the end of the session after our second resource person concludes her address. So the question and answers are invited in the Q&A tab that the participants can see. So they can please type their questions. I now request our speaker, our resource person, Dr. Urmi Nanda Viswas, to address the online gathering. Ma'am, please. Good morning, ma'am. Ma'am, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, a very good morning to you all. And at the outset, I would like to thank Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Upinder Dhar and convener of the program, Professor Santosh Dhar, and the coordinator, Dr. Pandey, and all my colleagues there for inviting me to this platform and giving me the opportunity to share my views on health, equity, and gender. Thank you very much. I will share my screen with you. Is it visible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. I would like to thank my predecessor, Professor Anubhuti Dubey, to prepare a background for my speech or my delivery. She spoke nicely about social justice. She spoke about socio-demographic segments. She didn't call it a socio-demographic segment though, but heterogeneity in the population and the new mental health paradigm. And as you truly mentioned, actually the grandmother, using the community people for enhancing and identifying mental health problems is a great kind of a great program, because in our country itself, I always appreciate Janani Suraksha Yojana as one of the best programs because of the ASHA workers who are involved at the community level. So community involvement always, kind of improves the health delivery as such. So today, I would like to talk to you about health equity and gender, an overview of India, or what is happening in India. So, let me make it full screen. Just tell me if you can see it full screen or not. If not, then I'll show it in this format.
It's visible, ma'am. Full screen is visible.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. So, Professor Dubey talked about social justice. We are particularly since when the WHO has started talking about SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, and before that Millennium Development Goals. We are very, most of the people who are working in academia and other walks of life are concerned about these terms: equity, disparity, and social justice. So they have been sometimes used interchangeably, but there is a distinct difference amongst the terms. So when we talk about, as you can see in the picture, we see that what is the difference between the equality and equity. Equity is always targeted towards the need of the person. It is designed that way. Social justice, as she mentioned, will move forward maybe. I'll show you more about this, but basically we must understand these are the things which are talked about these days in the health scenario. When you're talking about health psychology or public health, whichever field it may be. So we know that WHO talks about health for all. There are 3 SDGs. Goal number 3, goal number 5, and goal number 8, which basically talks about how health should be available for all and how we can kind of combat the effects of climate change on health. So that has been largely been the concern of the kind of the whole world. So maybe you cannot read it, but shall I read it for you? So yeah, health equality, health equity, and health barriers. To the audience, it is shown in a big screen, or it's just like this as I am showing it.
Ma'am, the picture is stretched out, so you have to.
Yeah. So health equality is equal treatment and availability of health care services for all people. So it is I say that it is equal treatment and availability of healthcare services for all people. So the goal of equality is to promote fairness, but it can only work if everyone starts from the same place and needs the same thing. So this is what is important. Equality says that if everyone is at the same platform, then we can offer them equality, but this is not true. Everybody is not on the same platform. We talk about, then we move to health equity, where health equity talks about the availability of healthcare while taking into consideration of other factors that influence health, such as employment, housing, transportation, education, socioeconomic status, food access, etc. As we just heard Professor Dubey talking about that, and it is talked about a lot during COVID-19 problems. The whole world has been very sensitive to the different needs of different socio-demographic segments in the society. Which are the socio-demographic segments? Different gender, different ethno-cultural groups, different people from different areas, geoclimatic condition, people who with different levels of education, socio-economic status, people having different access to food, food, etc., etc. And there can be health barriers which kind of impairs, which kind of hinders the access of healthcare to people. Saying that, when you're talking about health equity and health inequality, you can see the difference clearly. Equity is the absence of unfair, avoidable, or remediable differences amongst groups of people, whether those groups are defined socially, economically, demographically, or geographically, or by other dimensions of inequality. So we have to understand that there are different types of vulnerable groups in our society. All are not on the same platform. So you have to design the healthcare programs. You have to understand the needs of these different vulnerable groups, different socio-demographic segments, if you want to offer health equity to all. Health equity is achieved when everyone can attain their full potential for health and well-being. And that's what WHO wants. It says health for all. When it says health for all, that is what it means. So health equity is the prime focus of today's healthcare scenario. Okay, so when we're talking about health inequality, health inequality and disparity, health disparity, they are used interchangeably. Please understand that disparity, when you're talking about disparities, health disparities, it is coined and understood and conceived in the context of the outcome of health inequality. So if there is any health inequality, inequity. So how it results, what are the, in terms of the outcomes, we can see in the public health domain that how different groups of people have been, kind of differentially affected by the policies and healthcare. That is, you can say that health disparity. This is a very famous, model. I am little sorry about the noise outside. This is Gujarat election coming up on 5th of December. So please, please bear with me for a minute. Yeah, so okay, so this is the source is Dahlgren and Whitehead. This is a very famous public health model, social ecological theory of health, where they talk about what are the different factors which affects the health of people or health of communities. So it starts with, if you look at the center here at sex, constitutional factor, genetic factors, and then it comes individual lifestyle factors. We really love this. This affects our hearing. It can cause hearing impairment. It's a challenge to the health. Okay, sorry about it. I can't help it. They're just coming into the. Okay, so there are individual lifestyle factors, there are social and community networks, and there are cultural and environmental conditions. As you see that it is graded from genetic and socio-demographic factors to lifestyle factors to community level factors like different ethno-cultural groups, different groups with different religious faith. Then we are talking about all these factors like your work environment, educational status, agricultural and food production. We are talking about food safety a lot these days, housing, healthcare services accessible, water and sanitation, unemployment, all these are living and working conditions. And then comes the culture. So they are basically divided into three parts: population level, policy, community level, and individual level, or concern to the individual. So as you understand, there are multiple levels. So when you're talking about healthcare access and health equity, we have to take all these levels into consideration. We have to look at them simultaneously, and we have to treat them consistently. Okay, so yeah, so I said that my title is Health Equity and Gender in India. So as you see here, the concept of health inequality is changing fast. So it was, now we are here. It is, when I say gender, gender doesn't mean that only women, there are other genders also. I acknowledge the fact, the existence of other genders, and we have to be sensitive and equitable to other genders as well. So when we are today we are talking about all these, let us see that how why I wanted to share this with you, that gender thing, why I am so concerned about gender. Just look at some of the data available. So India was ranked 103 out of 119 qualifying countries in the peer-reviewed Global Hunger Index 2018. So we are, it's very sad, but it's also, we must recognize, we must, being a social psychologist, I always say that we have to, the social psychology of health. So we have to understand the facts and figures, the society and the societal factors around us. And if you see that India is among the 45 countries that have serious levels of hunger, and at least 1 in 5 Indian children under the age of 5 are wasted, reflecting acute undernutrition. So there are two concepts of malnutrition: a child wasting and child stunting. So child wasting, when the child is very much underweight and malnourished, which leads to death sometime. And child stunting is that undernourished, underdevelopment of the children because of the malnourishment. And we are just next to South Sudan. Can you imagine that kind of we call ourselves a very progressive and developing country, kind of then if this is the state of the health of the children, we have to be really concerned that how we can eliminate it. So shall we feed the children or shall we feed the mothers? Of course, the mothers, we have to take care of the women if you want to fight that. India is ranked 95th out of total 129 countries in the first ever SDG Gender Index, which measures strides made in achieving gender commitments against internationally set targets. So India's score is 56.2, which means that 43 countries that fall in the very poor category, we belong there. Even End of Childhood Index 2019 ranked, India ranked 113 among 175 countries, that the children are threatened as a result of poor health, malnutrition, exclusion from education, child labor and child marriage. These are the things that we are not talking about, but poor health and malnutrition definitely. And more than 38% of Indian children aged 0 to 59 months, that means till 5 years, are stunted. Every fifth child is, out of school, etc., etc. So as you see the severity of the challenge, it is glaring at us, asking for health equity and taking care of the health and gender. Gender inequality index is basically measured on the basis of these three things: reproductive health, empowerment, and economic status. India ranks 131 amongst 189 countries, so we are much below the, in the list. We are down there, and so this is one thing I'm very concerned about: reproductive health of women. And when I talked about child stunting and child wasting and being one of the most our hunger index becoming so high. So what is happening there? Empowerment. So accessing the health care. Do the women have the freedom to access the health care? As I told you that I love Janani Suraksha Yojana because maternal mortality and infant mortality has significantly gone down, and the hospitalized delivery has significantly gone up because of the community intervention by ASHA workers. And so that is where the empowerment comes. So are the women kind of aware about the health programs and accessibility to healthcare services, and how much do they access the healthcare services? And reproductive health is again another very concerning issue. I'll come to that a little later. So what we need to recognize that the lifespan of women is more than men, and but there is nothing to be very happy about it, because women suffer more non-fatal chronic illnesses and more acute illnesses. And then, it says that the data says that the treatment rates, absenteeism, and prescription drug use are higher for women. Men have shorter life expectancy. They suffer more injuries, homicides, heart disease, etc. There is a significant difference in the lifestyle of men and women in India. When I was doing a study with ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research and Elderly of India, I came to learn that women, grandmothers, women are in the senior women, like elderly women, are preferred preferred at the son's place and the daughter's place more than the elderly men. I said a very nice thing, because women, at least at some stage of their life, they can offer services to the grandchildren, to the family, their house course, and all those things. So when I said that, it also, when I said lifestyle differences, I have learned during my research with ICMR and elderly that many of the elderly women who visit the doctor will request the doctor to say that, please do not tell my son or daughter how sick I am, how unwell I am. They will be worried. So women in general, they do not report the seriousness of that disease. They do not seek treatment. Health seeking behavior is in general low by the women and of the family members for the women. So family members, when a male member is sick, will go and seek healthcare more often than that for the elderly woman. And again, continuing with the elder care research with ICMA, we learned that men seek assisted living care, or men go for elderly care more often for all kinds. They avail all kinds of care, but when it comes to women seek care either respite care, or when they have gone through a surgery or something, they will they can seek elderly care. So that says the inequity, that says talks about the differential treatment of women's health and men's health in India, but also all over the world. Like it is not only limited to India. So women have poor health, although their lifespan is higher, and they suffer from more chronic illnesses. The depression, we are known as the depression capital of the world. They are more depressed. So they suffer because of lifestyle. They suffer more because of lifestyle-related diseases, stress, poverty, loss of spouse, because a lifespan is higher. They lose their spouse earlier and go through severe neglect and abuse by family members sometimes. So there are a plethora of research which which illustrates the abusive treatment the elderly women get from their families. And also, there are other factors which accentuates the discrimination, the differentiation of healthcare services to women. And also, when you're talking about, health differences amongst different socio-demographic segments or ethnocultural groups or vulnerable groups. These are some of the basic factors which affects the healthcare services. During COVID-19, we realized that there are a lot of projects which were which flooded the scenario, which came from DFID from UK, and then Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and UN and everywhere. That time, COVID-19 made us acutely aware or sensitive towards the fact that different socio-demographic groups have different health habits, and they have different expectations. They have different social norms. How do they practice health behavior, and when they seek health care? So we did a small study in India on 1,400 and some odd people, where we found out that people having different religious, following different religious faith will adhere to the WHO recommendation of the health protective behavior differentially because of the social norms, because of the expectations they have. So it is high time that we should take these things into consideration, and we should be aware, be sensitive to ensure healthy lives and promote well-being for all at all ages. Promote well-being, and achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls, which is linked. I have taken both these goals together because I'm talking about gender today. So we should empower all women and girls to, live healthy lives. So recently, when I was in another conference in Orissa, and I had a speaker with me who is a great biological scientist, who told that when you're talking about reproductive health or health of women or health of pregnant women, and when you are talking about child stunting and child wasting, it was kind of an eye-opener what he told me, that he mentioned on the basis of his research and a lot of research in biogenetics, that when a woman is going to be pregnant, the first 0 to 1000 days of the fetus is the most crucial days of his whole life, because that sets the trajectory of health, what he or she will have, because the neurological development will happen very fast, and the cell, kind of division and everything happens during those periods. And the nutrition that the women take impacts the growth of the fetus, and it also, kind of the health trajectory, it sets the health trajectory which unfolds throughout the life. So it's extremely important that we take note of the fact that we prepare our girls and women who are going to be the mothers in future, or pregnant women, to take, we should take care of their nutrition. In the Kahneman and Tversky, I guess, one of the Nobel laureate in one of their writing, they said that all over the world, people have gained height except India. And why is that? It's so obvious. So when the mother is not well fed and there is impoverished, the mother cannot produce a healthy child. So these are I have done research to find out these are the main reasons, major health issues in women in India. Reproductive health issues, sexual health issues. It also includes maternal mortality and STI, kind of reproductive tract infection and sexually transmitted diseases. That is the first thing. Breast cancer, cervical cancer, and it is increasing day by day. As you see that there is Indian women are not careful about screening. So awareness about these things should be talked about. The atherosclerosis, which is, kind of is another thing for heart attack and strokes, depression, PCOD, obesity. So now being a teacher, I see a lot of young girls who are overweight and they are suffering from PCOD. This happens because of irregular lifestyle, irregular sleep patterns, disbalanced circadian rhythms, hormonal imbalance, poor nutrition, etc., etc. Osteoporosis in women who are elderly, kind of menopausal women, and diabetes as well. So yeah, so talking about these things, so we say that maternal mortality rate for the UN's, the whole world is 70, and our maternal mortality rate is 113. So the National Family Health Survey 5 reports that more than half of the women and children in India are anemic in all the round of 11 states and union territories in India. Round 2 of the survey, it showed that this is the status, and the prevalence of undernutrition and anemia amongst half of the women in India, especially pregnant women, puts a serious burden on the country's food security, and it triggers a cycle of undernutrition by passing on nutrient and vitamin deficiencies to newly born babies. So yeah. So I think that speaks a lot that why we should take care of your girls, women, and we have to be sensitive about the gender-specific health care. So we conducted one of my PhDs. This is Debjani Rai, one of my PhD student. We are trying to see that, kind of what is the knowledge about reproductive health and how do women take care of their health over the lifespan. And we looked at, kind of how the health complications and issues that women go through manifest differently in different stages of their lifespan. And if they are vigilant about it, because as I am talking to you about the health promotion and disease prevention, we have to take care of, prevent the undernutrition and make the women more healthy and make them vigilant about their own health to spare the reproductive health problems, to take care of their sexual health and to all kinds of infection, and to take care of their osteoporosis and things like that. So they have to be vigilant and they have to be aware about the health issues. And unfortunately, the conducted interviews, 30 women, in-depth interviews, and she tried to understand what are the sources of information, what kind of health-seeking behavior they're engaging with, and what is their engagement with the reproductive health. And unfortunately, I'm so sorry to say that most of the women do not have the full information about reproductive health and sexual health. Many of them even couldn't, differentiate the both. And many of them told that after marriage, they have learned it from their husband or, boyfriend. So the complacence, the ignorance, the not knowing about the thing can set you on a wrong trajectory for your whole life. And that is why we have to take care of the health equity into consideration, to make that understand the need of different age groups, different socio-demographic segments and things like that, to make healthcare accessible to them. And then I'm talking about, this is another project which we are currently doing, and it is about Indian female migrants, first generation migrants in Canada, and what kind of issues and challenges they face during the lockdown. Of course, we talked about all kinds of issues, but I'll just pick up one thing about the health issues. So it was, what we realized is that it is the everyday agency of the women. How do they take the challenge and deal with the problems, and the resilience, and seeking social support, and made them resilient to navigate through the pandemic situation when they were lonely. They're first generation immigrant women. They didn't have any access to the healthcare system. Of course, the government was very cooperative there, but then it is the agency, everyday agency in the woman to seek and look for the challenges. Then this is the third study. It is Shreya Hirur, my PhD student. She is working. We were very much interested to look at that how LGBTQ community is taking care of their health. Where do they go? How do they take care of their health? And as we know that these people are not always very financially well off, but unfortunately, there is so much of disapproval, rejection, and discrimination from the doctors as well as the general public. It is these people will never like to go to the public healthcare. They won't access the public health care. They said that when you go to the OPD, outpatient department, there will be so many eyes, hundreds and hundreds of eyes will be staring at us. So we feel so uncomfortable and stigmatized. We would not even dare to go to the OPD and talk about our health problems. So most of the time, they either do not go to, do not seek healthcare, or they do this, all kinds of this complementary medicine, or all these things which are not very effective because they do not have the money to go to the private healthcare access as well. So NGOs try to help, but they do not have that kind of monetary access or financial provision to take care of to take care of the health problems of this LGBTQ community. So it calls for the government's intervention for policies to make the healthcare accessible on the basis of equity for the vulnerable groups, their needs and everything. So this is what I talked about right now. So this is what they reported, the interviews reported, that they do not access the public healthcare facilities. We proud ourselves that we have so many PHCs and CHCs all around, and we are all set, and we earn a lot through medical tourism from other countries. But what is happening to our own people, to our own women, to our own LGBTQ community? So do we have policy and healthcare access to for which they can avail? We have to think about that seriously. And and the last issue that I would like to share with you is that when home is where the heart is, when home is where the heart is. Yes, it is about intimate partner violence. It is about domestic violence. 30% of women in India have been victims of physical, emotional, or sexual abuse. and 20% of 25% of women in India have encountered physical abuse. And there have been studies on domestic violence that where it has shown that in the households there is a lot of domestic violence and abuse. They suffer from reproductive tract infection. The children in the household suffer from asthma. So see that how impactful the domestic violence and intimate partner violence can be. Apart from the STDs and RTIs, it has contributed largely to these things. And there is a model of cycle of abuse in all violent relationships. First, it is tension building when there is conflict tension in the couple. Then the explosive episode when the physical violence happens, sexual violence happens, and then the male partner justifies that why he is violent. So then the honeymoon phase, and many Indian women who are going through such inhuman condition, they do not leave the marriage because of this honeymoon phase and justified about why the violence happened. So look at this, how we can give them equitable healthcare accessibility. There is a small study we did. Dependence.
Sorry, ma'am. Sorry for the interruption. Can you please conclude?
Yeah. I'm just going to do that. Give me just 3 minutes, maybe. So we found out in a study that we conducted that women who are more dependence prone, they bear with more violence. So when I said that empowerment is one thing that can reduce the differential healthcare accessibility. That is what it means, that if the women are made to think independently and the dependence proneness can be reduced, they can be economically independent and they can perceive the gender stereotypes can be reduced. They can perceive less stereotype, then maybe it will help them to take care of their own health and to fight these kind of violence. This is some data. I don't have time to show it to you. So we have to be careful about universal health care. And this is what the final concluding thing, that we have to make provision for universal healthcare through policies and strategies, making healthcare accessible for all, to give equitable healthcare access to all groups. Gender budgeting and resource allocation has to be done with the help of the NGOs and welfare organizations working for the health of women and other genders. Social communication model for creating awareness about disease preventive measures and health promotion has to be worked on. Promoting health protective behaviors like sharing knowledge about reproductive health, sexual health, and how the different kind of development happens over the lifespan has to be made through the different programs, public health programs. And there can be we can have public health programs for this communication and this perception. So different socio-demographic segments perceive the risk differentially, and that's how they respond to the health risks differentially. So we have to do that. There are essential public health services, how we can do it, how we can make it feasible and accessible. We have to do the assessment of the situation, and then we have to do the policy development, and we have to implement it. This is a model of WHO and UN, so we can have a look at it when we have more time. So thank you very much. Before leaving, I will just take 1 minute to share with you that at Ahmedabad University, we are doing National Academy of Psychology's conference on 3rd to 5th March. So Professor Dhar and all my colleagues sitting in the audience, you are most welcome to join National Academy of Psychology's 32nd annual convention at Ahmedabad University. Thank you very much for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you for all your support. And thank you again to the Sri Vaishnav SBB University for giving me this opportunity. Namaste.
Thank you, ma'am. It was very knowledgeable. Your session handled a lot of topics that are very, very crucial. Ma'am, we have questions. So may I please read them out to you?
Yeah, of course.
Ma'am, Aradhana Kaul Karju, ma'am, has written, would you say that women not prioritizing themselves for health concerns is part of our cultural conditioning?
Can you please read it again? I am looking at some other question. Yeah, please read it again.
Sure, ma'am. Would you say that women not prioritizing themselves for health concerns is part of our cultural conditioning?
Of course, yes, I completely agree with you. It is because of the cultural conditioning, and we always have learned to put others' priorities before us, whether it is mental health or physical health. So that's how women have not been taught to take care of themselves. So when I spoke so much about the pregnant women, child stunting, child wasting, hunger index and everything. The women in the rural India, the women in the general middle class household eats after everybody eats and whatever. So there is, it is all staple food. Non-staple food gives protein and kind of fat and vitamins to the women to develop. So we have conditioned the young girls that they should think about others and not their own health. Yeah. So the culture, we have to change the cultural norm. We have to make them aware that they should take care of their health more.
Thank you, ma'am. There's one more question from Aradhana Kaul Karju, ma'am. I think this is for Dr. Anubhuti Dubey. She's asking, what is stopping us as a country to hop on to the bandwagon for friendship benches, since we as a people are natural storytellers?
There is nothing which is stopping us. The thing is that we have to focus on this, because as a country, as Professor Vishwas was saying, that although we have become a medical tourism hub, and the entire focus is on the medical paradigm, biomedical paradigm, and our traditional knowledge, which was percolating from one generation to other generation, we have just stopped thinking about that and entirely focusing on the medical technology. And India is a very diverse country in different segments of people. In fact, here we have to train people in a more sophisticated way. As in Zimbabwe or as in Uganda, they are the natural storyteller. But as all we know that when we tell stories, there are exaggerations as well. So we have to train the people who are who have become the flag bearer or the community workers to understand that what are the things where we have to stop, rather than putting our own knowledge. There should be some training part should be there. So that is the thing which we have to do as a universities, or means it is our own responsibility as well to go for certain kind of social extension of our services. So we can do that, but it is not like that we have stopped focusing on these part of things. We have entirely focused on hospitals and different kind of testings and pathology and all that, but it stopped focusing on what the resources we already have.
Thank you, ma'am. There is one more question similar. I think you already responded in part. This is by Bhumika. She's asked, a professional help and a grandmother's advice are two different things. How would one figure out the exact mental illness they may be going through?
See, these kind of, as Professor Vishwas was saying, that ASHA workers and Janani Suraksha and all. So these grandmothers are anyone who is doing these kind of things. They are not the professional psychotherapists or the clinical psychologist. We have to understand, we can train them only to understand certain symptoms which are very prevalent. So they can identify and they can see that, okay, these symptoms are which are manageable at the level of community by only talking to and solution-based therapies, interventions. But if there are certain things, we have to train them as well that this is the line. From beyond that, you have to refer the person to the to a PHC or CSC or the relevant person. We have to train them for that as well. As I can share my own experience and my own work when we were working under the GFATM program for HIV/AIDS counselors. So we are training the HIV/AIDS counselors who are later recruited in different hospitals of district hospitals and medical colleges of entire UP. So there was an entire segment of community-based workers, PLHA groups, those who are already affected with HIV, but they are now working as a people living with health, and they are supporting the communities of their own communities, and as well as the for the awareness. So we have trained them to understand that, see, this is your borderline, and beyond that you have to refer the individual to the nearest. These are the referral centers where you have to refer. So these are the people who can act as screening persons, and whatever their capacity, we train them to in that capacity. So if you have to understand, and from where they have to refer to the people to other higher centers. But there are many things. All of us know that mental health professionals are very less in India, and the population is so high. So we should have some community-based workers, self-help groups, where the small problems can be taken care of in their own community, and they do not have to reach to bigger centers and hospitals. And there is stigma as well. So many of the people who know that they are going through certain kind of things, they have emotional problems, they have, but due to the stigma and discrimination, they do not want to approach, as Professor Viswas was saying about the LGBT group. So they do not want to approach to the go to the professionals.
Thank you, ma'am. Professor Vishwas, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to that. Actually, the professional mental health care certificate course that you read in my this thing, we delivered that course. When we delivered that course, we thought of that, as the Professor Dubey just at the end mentioned. We have very, if you look at the ratio of healthcare professionals and the population, it's very less. So we always need a second rung of people who are not professionals, but they can reach out to the community, and that's where this, if we can develop something like a certification course from the NGOs, empowering these or training these not grandmothers but also women who are free of the or have more time, they can reach out and do the like there is a mini screening test, so they can just do the screening that there is a mental health problem, and then they can be referred to professionals. So that's what she mentioned at the end also. So that those kind of things are feasible. It is just we have to awake and take care.
Thank you, ma'am. The question and answer session is complete. I now request respected Dr. Santosh Dhar to share the closing remarks.
Well, the sessions were quite enlightening and enriching. Thank you so much, both the speakers, for your contributions, sharing your research experiences, and helping the organizers in this academic endeavor. Now, finally, what do we draw? What are the takeaways from the session which we had? Well, in the past century, 4 major trends have changed the field of healthcare. One trend is the changing pattern of disease and death in developed nations. Chronic diseases now replace infectious diseases as the leading cause of death and disability. These chronic diseases include heart disease, stroke, cancer, and adult onset diabetes, all of which have causes that include individual behavior. The increase in chronic disease contributes to the second trend, the escalating cost of medical care. Costs of medical care rose dramatically between 1970 and 2005, but more recent gains have showed in relation to the gross domestic product. Much of this cost increase is due to growing elderly population, innovative but expensive medical technology, and inflation. A third trend is changing definition of health. Many people continue to view health as the absence of disease, but the growing number of healthcare professionals view health as a state of positive well-being. To accept this definition of health, one must consider the biomedical model that has dominated the healthcare field. The fourth trend, the emergence of biopsychosocial model of health, relates to the changing definition of health. Rather than define disease as a simple presence of pathogens, the biopsychosocial model emphasizes positive health and sees disease, particularly chronic disease, as a result from the interaction of biological, psychological, and social conditions. So here, the qualitative research methods like discourse analysis, content analysis can help in the in-depth analysis. However, they are with their own set of challenges. Now, gender norms, socialization, roles, differential in power relations, and in access to the control over resources contribute to differences in vulnerabilities and susceptibilities to illness among different social groups. How illness is experienced, health behaviors, including health seeking, access to and uptake the health services, treatment responses, and the health outcomes. Gender inequalities of health originate in the traditional society of India, where definition of health status and traditional medical practices all reflect the subordinate social status of women. Gender inequalities in health are manifested in traditional medical practices, which attribute women's illnesses to behavioral lapses by women. Differential access to and utilization of modern healthcare services by women and girls, including maternal care, general health care, family planning, and safe abortion services. Reasons for gender inequalities in health include emphasis on women's childbearing roles, resulting in early and excessive childbearing, sex preference manifested in discrimination against female children in health and general care, women's workloads which not only expose them to health hazards, but also make it difficult for them to take time off for health care. Lack of autonomy by women leading to lack of decision-making power and access to independent income. Early marriage, which exposes women to complications of early and excessive childbearing. Achieving equality will require specific measures designed to eliminate this gender inequality. There are these, the interventions have to be at multiple levels. It has to be at the individual level, it has to be at the individual lifestyle, it has to be at the social and community level, and it has to be at the cultural environment conditions. But all these interventions need to be done simultaneously and consistently. This is what we draw from today's sessions. With these, we once again thank our learned resource persons and all the delegates who have been listening to them for in this plenary session. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
I request,
Thank you to all the
with this, we have come to the conclusion of our plenary session 1. Thank you all, and I request the participants to please join us at 1 p.m. for the technical and the concurrent sessions. The links have been shared in the program schedule itself.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anubhuti Dubey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Biswas. She's not there or she has
She left, ma'am. She left.
Okay. Okay. Thank
We
you.
can also leave
Yeah.
the
Yes. Thank you all.